Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where today we are here at Topaz Detailing because it is time to prepare the beast. My Zenvo TSR-S is here at Topaz for full paint protection film. Like all Shmeemobiles, including the SF90 Stradale, it will have full coverage to get it ready for the journeys and the miles that are ahead. Now, I last saw this car when we showed it to the world at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. Since then, it's actually been back to Denmark for all of the shakedown testing. It's now here in the UK to get paint protection film, to do all of the registration before it will be going back for the full official handover and collection, which means today we're going to see the TSR-S going through the motions as it enters the wash bay to be prepared ahead of PPF installation. But coincidentally, also here at Topaz right now is my Ferrari GTC4 Lusso. When I bought the Lusso from HRO and Ferrari London, we agreed to replace the paint protection film on the front of the car, but to do that after the Where's Shmee Euro Tour. So I recently had it touched up with a little bit of paint at the front. It's now getting PPF and we're going to see parts of that process before it's time for this, in its Lila Parlamore glory, to enter the wash bay here at Topaz to start the preparation process. We've actually got quite an unusual line of cars here at the moment because we've come out with one of our team cars from the Shmuseum, the Mini Electric. I've driven here an e-drive in the Ferrari SF90 Stradale, and as I recently said in my full daily driver update, I've pretty much driven this car every day of the last 2 weeks. I am loving it for getting about town in electric, but knowing also that it has 1,000 horsepower. Those two, when you drive them electrically at least, are the polar opposite of that, which is about as brutal as a car with an internal combustion engine can get. The 5.8 litre twin supercharged V8 made by Zenvo that sounds so raw and intense, and now, as they told me at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, with the capability to run on E85, which takes it up to 1,360 horsepower, a megawatt of power more than those two combined. In fact, probably more than those two plus the Audi and maybe something else as well. That's a whole lot of power. Anyway, we need to head inside. They need to shuffle some of the cars around. As always, there's a lot going on here at Topaz, but the Lusso is being worked on. So let's go check that out quickly before it's time to start this up. And that will be the first time we've heard it on the channel starting up, and then it will be going into the wash bay. If you've been following the Shmuseum videos, then when it comes to the GTC4 Lusso, we've done a lot of miles with this car already. In fact, since picking it up, I think back in February, it's done around 7,000 miles. And many of those miles were chasing the SF90 Stradale down the Autobahn, which meant that at the front of the car, we have the lovely blue epoxy paint, but we also have these inserts here in the satin black. They're actually painted, but basically those have taken an absolute beating because of the factory texture on them. You can't put paint protection film on them, and they had chipped up really quite nastily, especially around the grille on these flat facing sections here. So those have all been repainted, as had the parking sensors, because this is a car that's about 5 years old, and back then PPF and the templates hadn't developed in the same way they have now, especially the way that Topaz do it to cover effectively, well, as much of the front surfaces, as much as all of the painted surfaces as you actually can, and even the availability of materials. So you'll notice the bonnet or the hood of the Lusso is a gigantic piece, and in fact 5 years ago there wasn't even a roll of PPF film big enough to be able to do that without having to have a cut line. So that was part of the deal to update it, shall we say, to do the front sections again. And obviously by replacing the PPF here and by having some of those parts painted up beforehand means that we're going to have a much nicer result at the end of the day. And when it comes to a car like this, you want it to look good. When it's a really dark paint like this, it shows any imperfections even more. So where there were small chips even on the paint and where there were some dead bug splats from the sunshine and obviously driving at speed, they were even more exaggerated than they would be on like a metallic silver or something a bit more mid-tone in terms of the paint colour. So this was all touched back up. It went to Acton Coachworks, not too far away, and obviously now looks immaculate. It also had a little nick on the front spoiler just here from prior to my ownership, so I knew about that. So that's now all been fixed up and it's looking wonderful. And the engine bay, it has to be said, looks truly magnificent. Those Ferrari V12 engines sure do look the absolute part, 6.3 litres. But then when it comes to the bonnet, as I said, I think this has already been done. That's the thing with PPF, you can't tell. Yes, it's already been done. So we have the one big single piece. I'm sure if I can just show you around here. Previously it had effectively a cut line across there. Same on my previous Lusso, in fact, just because the panel is so big that you can't do it as one. So I think we'll try and catch a bit of the work in progress for the front bumper to get all of this ready before it's time to pull the Zenvo into the wash bay. And it's fun coming back here. It always feels like like a rite of passage, like when I own a car and I'm driving it to take it to the Nürburgring. It's like a rite of passage that they come here to Topaz, and it's the first time we really get to spend some time around them and to see the cars and to study the details, like whetting the appetite before it's ready to go and take it out on the road. To give you a sense of how much this car had been attacked, in a bit of preparation, obviously the number plate has to come off. Look at this, it's actually cracked, the number plate. That's completely cracked and broken. I do have a new set of plates that's going to be going on it, and you can see even how peppered this is. I mean, you could technically put PPF, I'm sure, on your number plate. That would be a strange thing to do, given it's quite easy to just get a new one. Yeah, it took a bit of a beating. So just needs the plinth removed so there's easier access to the bumper, then the preparation processes, and then we go from there. One of the most important things, of course, is the panel prep. So things like claying, things like using the right materials to make sure that there's no dust or any microfibers or anything that can be left on the panel, because obviously when you install the PPF, those will show through, and that would be a complete disaster. So a lot of attention and care to this. Obviously the car has been through the wash process prior to arriving here, and in fact it's already got the new wing panels installed, so this has already been done. Even these blades and everything basically get PPF all over the entirety of them. Oh, I do love the silver wheels and silver calipers against the dark blue. Just going around the entirety of the panel prior to the film being installed to make sure that it's fully prepared for the purpose. Fast forward from the preparation, now it's time for a coating with slip solution, various different formulas that are used to help apply the paint protection film, which is of course templated by the team here, and by making their own templates means that they have every shape as perfectly as they want it for their installation techniques, and just covering and protecting every edge, even where they tuck in, making sure that it's all going to be immaculate. Then this is where you start to wonder how it's all going to come together, as the material is back rolled, obviously all templated and all cut to have the cutouts for the parking sensors to work around all of the shapes. Obviously it has to have multiple parts due to some of the curvature. That's also one of the amazing things, is how it all fits together seamlessly at the end, the way it wraps around here and then tucks in underneath at the front. Material can be worked in many ways to give you that full coverage that you need with this kind of thing. The magic of this is then to line it all up into place, starting from the very center with the Ferrari badge obviously right there, because if the material fits there spot on, it will work out from that. The films are actually adapted over time from the installer's experience here at Topaz. So if, for example, they have a system in place for how they will do this front bumper, they will then move it out from there and make any changes that are needed, so that they know the next time around it's all going to work and go straight into place perfectly. And then the fix solution, just to hold down some of those edges, get it into place and work it out from there all the way over. And it's always amazing to see how it goes from this material just thinly veiled over the top of the whole bodywork to something that completely vanishes when it's installed and completed. A quick progress update, as you can see, working around towards the last parts of the front bumper, completely vanished over on this side, and we'll have a complete run through of the process when the Zenvo is coming through in a few days' time. But for now, this is looking very nice. It's at this moment I realise I have made a colossal mistake, and I don't have the audio for the first startup I have ever heard of my Zenvo TSR-S. At Goodwood, we never started it, but you might notice the exhaust tips here are slightly different to what we saw before, and in fact this is on for the whole registration process, and they'll look slightly different again in the future. But at this point, we did fire it up. Just we don't have that. We do have it later in the video, so stay tuned. But then, of course, to take it inside, after seeing some of the work with the Lusso, which we'll go back to afterwards, and also just to point out, by the way, these are some more slave wheels. They are on the Pilot Sport Cup 2 tyres, but they aren't the exact wheels that will be on my car at the end of the day. This is, of course, for transport and for taking it to different places. But look at that beast on the move. Look at that thing. Just looks immense. The lime green against the Lila Perlamore is spectacular. It is every bit the brute that the Zenvo TSR-S should be, and this is pretty much a rite of passage for all new Shmeemobiles. As per taking them to the Nürburgring to drive a lap on the Nordschleife, it's coming here to Topaz to go into the wash bay for the preparation ahead of the installation of the paint protection film. The Zenvo TSR-S is a crazy, crazy, crazy thing, and this is something I've been looking forward to bring it through the motions, to share with you the whole story of this car from the beginning, the Road to Zenvo series, and now, of course, here at a familiar spot at Topaz in the wash bay, ready for it to be worked on in just a moment. We are underway with the world's ultimate car wash, a car wash suited to a car like the Zenvo TSR-S. Of course, it's been transported from Denmark, it's been taken all around for registration, so it's built up a layer of dust and dirt, all of which needs to be prepared and removed ahead of the car's full paint protection film installation. This means going through quite a few stages and layers, starting with the rinse over the bodywork, and we're going to follow it through this process as my car gets the best car wash and the first proper car wash that it will have. One part of the process is to use Iron X. Now, were there to be contaminants over the surface of the bodywork, this would effectively create purple blood as you see it beading away from the paintwork off the surfaces. Of course, given the colour of choice for my car, we're not going to be able to see all that much of that process. But the advantage of this, maybe we'll see some drops on the underside as they fall off the bodywork, but this obviously helps remove certain things that would be found on the surfaces. You absolutely need them to be as smooth and pristine as possible, because anything that you would leave on the bodywork now, when the protection film gets installed, is exaggerated through that film. Were it to be there, you'd see it on an enlarged basis. So you need to get rid of all of that at the earliest possible stages. There is not really a whole lot of bleeding coming from the Iron X, pretty much as you'd expect for a brand new car. Now just getting a rinse down to remove all of that from the surface. It is wheel time. Always quite fun. Obviously with the carbon fibre wheels that we have here, albeit the slave wheels, we still don't want to have any dirt on the wheels or tyres, because that could easily get into some of the panel gaps and things that you have around the car, which would obviously produce a problem a little bit later on. So even though they are not my final wheels, it's still important that they are completely clean at this stage of the process to ensure that we don't have any further issues that would be caused as a result. Obviously the right tools for the job, to be able to get inside all of the different spokes and underneath and around the calipers, back of the wheels, make sure they're fully done in entirety. And obviously in this case, because they are carbon fibre wheels with the clear lacquer, means they're quite easy to clean. Always important to go around all of the different gaps, for example around the badges, between different trim panels, between every area you have, grills, etc. As you can see with the headlights over here, just to make sure that there's nothing that's stuck, and using the right very small fine brushes means that you can get into all of those areas, around every screw, around everything. Just loosen up any dirt that could still be sitting on there at this stage. Back with another rinse. Got to clean everything off between each stage, just rinse it all down. This is where, to remove the wing, we take out, I say remove to fold back the wing, we take out the two clips on each side. Then when those are out, it's possible to pivot the whole centripetal wing back, and then press the button, and the rear clam opens up to reveal the engine bay and a lot of carbon fibre, all of which obviously needs to be cleaned. Doesn't need to be protected in here because it's obviously not at risk of stone chipping, but it certainly all needs to be cleaned and tidied and prepared. Look at the width of the tyres, Sport Cup 2s on there. A whole rinse down for all of these areas as well. As you can imagine, you'd always get a build up, even just crawling around slowly in a parking area around the wheel arches, so it's critical to give those a little go over. Just like with the outside, it's important to go around some of the door shuts and other internal areas. Same process with the brushing, just to make sure there's nothing trapped under there that will get lifted when the PPF is being installed later on. Same process continues inside the front clam, around the headlight, around all of the openings here where you've got the washer fluid reservoir. That's our little storage space that we have up front, the carbon bucket with a carpet at the base of it, and obviously the full carbon underside of the front clam as well. Look at these openings where obviously you have the radiators and fans down there at the front. Time for the snow foam, which is always fantastic to see, the colour change transformation across the entirety of the car. Benefit of snow foam is that it helps to pull away anything that's on the surface and drag it down towards the ground. Plus it also happens to just look really quite fun and cool when it's being done. Let's watch as it comes around towards the side and we get the full layer of snow foam over the entirety of the Zenvo. Hey, it's like Christmas time. Out in the mountains. Maybe one day we'll get this out to the mountains. How fun would that be? Now, of course, time to rinse it down. Rinse away all of the snow foam. It does look cool seeing the purple through the foam colour though. Really, really fun. All dripping away. Back to being purple. Next up comes the shampoo. Again, going over the entirety of the car, all of the bodywork. Obviously special mitts for the purpose. Being careful with the process, going over every single part. Another quick rinse. Many hands make light work. Now comes one of the final stages of the preparation, the claying of the entire bodywork. Also the carbon fibre sections, naturally, just to make sure that these will pick up the last final contaminants that could sit on the surface. So over all of the areas that will get PPF, that will get paint protection film, everything over the whole of the car. The drying time, big towels, pat down, obviously made for the purpose. Easy to remove any excess water that's left sitting on the surface ahead of the car moving into its bay for paint protection film installation. All ready to head inside now. Sounds like an angry beast. Just wait until the final sound as well. For the minute, it's time to bring this inside at Topaz, where it will find its bay, ready for work to be continued. But we have taken it through the wash bay, the ultimate preparation ahead of paint protection film. And the Lila Perle paint with the lime green accents is looking immense. It just sounds angry, beastly, brutal, aggressive. Everything something like this should be old school and emotional. There has been some fantastic progress on the front of the GTC4 Lusso, and now the only stage left is to install the number plate bracket. And yes, I know it's not the best to have a number plate, but it is a legal requirement here in the UK. This car is looking wonderful. And talking number plates, in fact, we have a new front plate because of the old one being a little bit chipped and cracked, with a new quote from Mr. Enzo Ferrari: aerodynamics are for people who can't build engines. Because for me, the Lusso is in a big way all about that 6.3 litre naturally aspirated V12. So this shall be adorning the front of the grille very shortly. Needs must and all that. Get that fitted now, and that is basically the final step, with this being ready to take on out. Final progress update: we have the number plate affixed at the front, and we've actually just done the one around the back as well. So we now have the correct number plates on my GTC4 Lusso. Finally, it took me a while to get around to those, and in fact I need to do the STO ones as well. Actually, they need to be updated. So this is how you completely refresh a car that has done quite a few miles, about 17,000 miles, now totally immaculate at the front with a PPF update. It's amazing how that keeps the car looking so magnificent, but that is the desired objective, that is the purpose, and that is exactly why I thoroughly recommend on any car that is going to be used, enjoyed, and you want to care about it, protection film, just like this. Perfect job. In the background, there are exciting Ferrari V12 noises. That's all we can say about that. For today, though, it has been amazing to bring the Zenvo here, for me to actually see it again and spend some more time around the car, because Goodwood at the Festival of Speed was so busy, I never really got to take it all in, and even now, it still doesn't quite feel like it's happened, like it's real, like this is actually my car. There's still a lot more that needs to be done, because obviously it's got to go through the full paint protection film process to have it installed over every single part of the body, all of the paintwork, all of the accents, all of the exposed carbon, and some of the interior parts as well. And we will come back to see parts of that process, but then after that, it needs to go back to Denmark, to the factory in Presto, where it will have a lot more of the shakedown, final touches and things like that completed before it'll be time to go out to collect it, to actually collect and drive it for the first time. It's through registration, so technically we could now put my number plates on it, it would be ready to go. That was a cold start of a Ferrari V8 in the background, you might be able to tell what, but then when it has the plates on, I can drive it. I can go drive it to Copenhagen. I'll probably transport it back rather than driving it the whole way, because it is over 1,000 miles just on the motorway, and it wouldn't be able to go flat out on the Autobahn because it wouldn't yet be fully run in while we're in Germany. We'll save that for the future, I think, when I'm a little bit more familiar with the car and what it's all about. Engine noises galore here at Topaz right now, so I'm not entirely sure how much more time it will be. I think probably expect another month before it's actually in my hands, at least that kind of thing. But it is now just about there, and I can't wait to put my plates on it. The SH14 MEE for Zenvo Chassis 14. But today, big thank you to Topaz for allowing us to come along and show you parts of this process, both with the Lusso and fully restoring and getting that back into action. Just engines galore right now, and also with this, the first stages of the process for PPF, in this case, the ultimate car wash prep here with Topaz. For now though, I think that is going to be all. We will keep as out of the way as we possibly can here at the end of the day. Thank you very much for watching. As always, guys, really appreciate your support. That was the sound of my Lusso, by the way, another Ferrari V12. I'm all right with this. I'm completely all right with this. We just have to keep the camera this way to respect the privacy of cars that clients have recently purchased and might not have seen yet. For now though, that's all. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.